Spin selling. I have made 5 videos on each important topic of this book. It is best to watch them from 1 to 5 so you can get the big picture. Before we get into anything technical, I want to ask 3 important questions today about closing. The first one is, how important is closing, and why so many people are fascinated about closing, and how often you need to close. So if you have these questions just like I did and want to know the answers based on solid research, stay with me for the rest of the video. Let's go back to the first question. How important is closing? Before we talk about closing, I need to help you understand that there are 2 types of transactions. One is low value, one-off, no or less maintenance or relationship required. The other one is medium to high value, multiple engagements, and high maintenance in relationships or services. Before you get to learn all the sales knowledge, make sure you identify what category the products or services you're selling is in. What we discovered is that the traditional way of handling objections and closing techniques cease to work when the sales grow larger. There are more elements affecting the purchase decision making than just a price comparison. The psychology behind the purchase are far more complicated than just personal gain. Imagine if you're buying a laptop, the sales representative went through all the features with you and you're just not so sure if this is the right one. Do you want a MacBook Pro? Or do you want a Surface Book Pro? You don't know. Since there are other brands selling a similar laptop, while you are hesitating, the sales representative used the scarcity technique. If you missed out today, the discount won't happen again, and he can give you 2-year warranty for free. I'm pretty sure 9 out of 10 you're sold on the spot, since you just need a laptop. Imagine if you are making a decision for your company in upgrading an accounting software. Would you be sold by those techniques? Probably not. Because if you made a mistake, you're held responsible for this. So closing is important, but not as important as you think. So why so many people are fascinated about closing? The reason why people believe it is so important is because closing is directly rewarded by a contract or an order. You receive a dose of fulfillment plus monetary reward. Do you remember the movie Glengarry Glen Ross? The first prize is a car, the second prize is a set of steak knife, and the third prize is you are fired. When people working in a sales environment, their social status is closely related to how many deals and how big the deals they can close. The moment you don't get it, you put more pressure on yourself and your client. If you didn't end up with anything, you start to question yourself whether you're in the right profession or you've done something wrong with your closing technique. The last question I want to ask is how often you need to close. You might have heard J. Douglas Edwards say, you haven't done your job if you quit without asking for the order at least 5 times. Have you also heard A, B, C always be closing? If you have been in the sales field for a while, you know most salespeople believe closing techniques are strongly related to success, and you should use as many different closing techniques as possible. You should trial close, you should get more yeses by using tie downs. So basically these techniques could be rehearsed and become a part of you, so you can use it more naturally at any time when there's an opportunity to close. So what exactly is closing? It is really just a behavior used by the seller which implies or invites a commitment. So the buyer's next statement accepts or denies the commitment. Put it in plain English, a close is anything that puts the customer in a position involving some kind of commitment. The author conducted the research to find out what exactly is the relationship between the number of a seller closes and the success rate. The result is actually quite surprising. A low close rate generates a higher success rate. How is that possible? What we generally experience is that closing is a way of putting pressure on the customer. It works on the low value transactions that they will speed up the customer's decision making process. Because the customer don't care about a wrong decision, it is not a big deal if they made a mistake. Instead, they might appreciate your help in saving their time. But remember, when the size of the transaction gets bigger, there are a lot more psychological issues involved. First, the buyers care about how people judge their decision. If it is a corporate purchase, whoever makes the decision is held responsible to the shareholders. If it is a personal purchase, the buyers do not want to be looked at like a fool in front of their friends. Buyers also have a fear of entering into an ongoing relationship or a contract. It is because the fear of missing out other good opportunities and avoiding the penalties of breaching the contract. There's no reward whatsoever for a contract or relationship. If the transaction is getting bigger, it is inevitable that the seller is selling services with an ongoing relationship rather than just a product. So how often exactly you need to close for big deals? The research from the book indicates that only one close is enough. Any more closes just mean that you have not getting the sales process right. The next video will go through the spin selling framework to show you how exactly the sales process would be for a high value deal. I can promise you that by the end of the 5th video, you will have a sales framework that you can use in everyday life. It will help you to establish relationships with your friends, family, and your customers, because people will always buy from someone they feel they are connected with.